Head Start. Listen, do you know what Head Start is?
No, I don't. Are you
Do
gonna tell
you?
me?
So Head Start is actually a program, and human development majors would know this. It's a program where if you are below a certain income, you can enter your child into pre-Head Start or Head Start, and they kind of get this educational development piece.
Yeah.
So the minute you said Head Start podcast, I was like, I don't know if that's gonna fuck up an algorithm or something, because like people are gonna like be like Head Start. That's a nationwide program.
Right.
Did
Of
you know
course.
that?
Well,
I
when we
did
get
not.
when we
So,
get
are you
so
gonna change
big,
it?
no, we're not going to change the name Head
Don't
Start
change it.
Podcast, because when we get so big that we take their name from them, I feel like they're just going to
Ooh.
have to live with that.
Okay.
Christian and I's initial like reaction to Head Start was we always
Or-
posted on Monday, so we're giving people a head start to the week.
Or like uplift
Positivity.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's already pretty.
No,
So far, it seems like an uplifting podcast.
Yeah, it's multi-interpretational. I just came up with that word right now. So.
yeah. My comment was not meant to be like a hater comment. I was just like,
Well,
oh,
I took it personally, so.
oh, okay, good. Yeah. all right. Good way to start it out.
I'm just kidding.
No, I love that. Thank
It's
you
alright,
for
though.
sharing.
I guess.
Cheers.
Hey,
Cheers.
she
to
got
this
tequila.
weird-ass
We got
glass.
whiskey.
That's tequila?
Should be.
That's tequila. You're a monster.
Why
By the
isn't it?
way, in case the audience has no idea who we're talking to right now, this is Mari. Mari, give us a little background. What did you major in college? What kind of pulled you into that field?
So I majored in psychology and human development.
What kind of drew you to that?
Yeah, no, it was originally just psych. Human development was kind of like an easy add-on to psychology because the classes overlap.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always psych. In high school, we had a psychology class, and I was just like so excited about it. And I don't know, I actually saw like a meme later on,
I love
like when I
memes.
was like,
Memes control the world.
yeah, when I was like three. No, but this one kind of like messed me up because I was like 3 years into my psych degree, and it was like anybody who's a psych degree like is just doing it to try to figure out their own,
Like their
you
own
know,
shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
like they're already like mentally so fucked up, and I'm like, is that why I'm in psychology? And I was like thinking about it, but I don't know, I feel like everybody kind of has that a little bit, but I've always been just so interested in like human behavior and kind of like analyzing that, but also being that person that could help somebody, because I
Definitely.
really do think like mindset and like the way you are emotionally, it impacts everything else so much that I'm like, this is kind of like the roots of like everything else. So
Did you go into college knowing you wanted to be psych? Because you know how like a lot of people when they go to college,
Yeah.
they want to have like a definitive degree that they want to go into, but like when you get there, you kind of change your degree like a couple times. Did you know you wanted psych before you went to college?
oh yeah, absolutely.
That's rare. That's rare.
I knew I wanted it right from the get-go, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, and I still feel like I'm in that kind of realm where I'm like, I have this psychology degree, human development degree, but what am I going to do with it? And I know what kind of like environments, like workplace environments that I thrive in, but I don't know like long-term how to, you know, tangibly like make money off that, because I'm
No,
not sure if I
definitely,
could
yeah.
be like a private practice therapist yet. And the reason is because I'm too spongy. Like I feel like I
Dainty?
get too, not dainty, but like I like take it home with me, you know.
Right,
and I'm
right.
like, am I gonna go like spend a bunch of money on a master's degree and then like get 3 years into being a private practice therapist and then be
Mhm.
like, I hate my life because all I do is take home shit.
No, yeah, definitely.
So-
A lot of the time when I feel like you can get a degree, and then that might not open all the doors for you, just kind of cracks the door, and then you still have to kind of figure out where your niche is.
Yeah,
But it's definitely a process. I
yeah.
feel like everyone's struggling with that too on some levels. But
Well, there's definitely so many people who work a job, kind of like run up the chain. What is it, the business chain or whatever that is, where they just work like a 9 to 5 and they like work their way up the chain.
sure.
I feel like most people, like when it comes to, everyone's like focused on money. Obviously, money's a good thing to have, but it's like the happiness mentally that you get from like. So she's saying that she doesn't know if she's gonna like this in the future or whatnot, but it's kind of similar in the sense that if you're not making as much money, but you can go to work every day and you're actually enjoying what you do, I feel like that's a big takeaway because, like, obviously nowadays mental health is huge or
Yeah.
more talked about than it has been in the past. So obviously everyone likes money, but it's like if you actually get a job that you enjoy going to every day, it's kind of like a game changer in the fact that since you knew exactly what you wanted to go into going into college, it's like an interesting topic just to even talk about because I was not that way. I changed my degree like I don't know 4 or 5 times.
Well, and I think it was interesting too because like I was drawn to the human development major because the program set you up with a internship at the end. So you would
Right.
leave with kind of like that step into the career field.
Right.
But I ended
That's
up
fair.
taking an internship where it was awesome and I appreciate a lot of things about it, but it wasn't, and it took me a while to figure this out, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. It was like a government position. I was doing youth substance abuse prevention work, and it was so like office work. I was like working on my laptop by myself a lot, and then I started to wonder, like, did I choose the right degree or am I like doing the right thing? Because I was so not passionate about going to work, even though I appreciated that experience so much. And then I got over to my other job where I was working one-on-one with people, and all of a sudden it was like, I don't care if I work overtime. Like, I'm working.
Because you like what you're doing.
I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
I literally thought that I didn't like working like before because I was like, maybe I'm just lazy.
A bad job will make you think that way.
Yeah, a bad job will make you feel kind of
Absolutely.
like maybe I'm just like a lazy person overall. Maybe that's a characteristic about me. But once you find the right thing, you actually like going to work. It's like what you were saying, and you feel that passion.
And obviously, we all work 9 to 5s too. Like, initially, I would think. Well, actually, I guess what is your perspective like in long-term career path? Would you prefer to be like a? You talk about being a practitioner, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, originally I was talking about doing like private practice, being like one-on-one doing therapy,
Mhm.
but kind of when you do private practice, you get to choose your clients. But if you have the same degree but you choose to work in a hospital, you don't choose your clients. Your clients come to
Right.
you.
So
But I don't know.
That's kind of
So
cool. And
kinda-
like you said, so when you had when you first got into the whole school, you kind of thought that your internship was going to set you up for where you're going to go. And then your internship that you actually got was not directly kind of on that path. And so do you feel like that kind of pulled you away from your end goal? Do you feel like that kind of helped you form into what you actually want to do? Because like it's kind of like a double-sided sword, right? Or what,
Yeah.
double-edged
that's
sword?
true, yeah.
Double-edged sword or something like that, because it's like, yes, you had that experience, but now you're kind of off that path. But it's like, but at the same time, you said you didn't like even know if you enjoyed working, and I think we've all been there. We've all had jobs where like,
Definitely.
hey,
Yeah.
this shit sucks.
It also makes you grow as a person too, having a bad job. 'Cause you
Yeah.
kinda know, like,
That's what I was gonna say.
No, for sure.
It's like finding, whether it's a relationship, a job, or whatever. If it's bad, you start to realize like, oh, that's not what I want. Therefore, I'm gonna go this way. So it helps.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like in the moment, it can be hard, but it helps in the long term because then you're like, I like this, this, and this, but there's all these things I did not like about that job or wherever I was. So I think it helped in the long term, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm still kind of in like a floating aspect, and it like,
I mean, we're still young, so
freaks
it's like
me
it's good.
out.
It's good though.
No, I
It's
know.
But it
freaky,
freaks
but
me
it's good
out.
though. Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
And it's
But
kind
then-
of Go ahead.
then I talk to everybody else, and everybody else kind of has like that same, like, even if they kind of have a good job, they have like that tinge of like,
Is this
I
what I
don't
want
think
to
this
do?
is what I want to do forever.
Trust me, I
and
know
then they
exactly
start
what you're
freaking
saying.
out, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, we're all freaking out.
You're like, cool, we're in this shit together. It all sucks.
Yeah.
No, definitely, because even like I got a job in my field, and even then, there's definitely times throughout the week or maybe the month or whatever project you're working on, you're like, is this what I went to school for? Is this exactly
know.
what I want to be doing? Because job responsibilities, you can't predict that. You can't predict like what your job's going to be like on a day-to-day basis. But I don't know. I feel like it's
Well,
just kind of
and
something
I
that we're going
remember
through.
one thing that I took away. I actually was listening to a different podcast when I was in this internship.
Fuck those guys.
I don't know.
Fuck 'em.
Like I was trying to reference them. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
I
don't
got
remember
you.
who they are. But they were saying if you journal every day that you're at work and you write down like what was my high, what was my low, and what are like, you just reflect on the
Yeah.
day. I started to understand like, oh, the reason I don't like this most of the time is because I'm sitting here by myself, like grinding on these projects, which is fine, but like I want to talk to people. And then
Yeah,
the days that
exactly.
I would be like, this is the best day ever, it was because maybe I wasn't necessarily like working on the projects, but I was working with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, oh, okay, I need to take that away. So journaling has actually helped me a lot.
But to go off journaling too, Chris and I have definitely talked about in previous episodes about journaling as well. And it's the fact that we've talked about accountability. So when you say you write in a journal about the highs and lows, everyone wants to write about the highs. So say you journal every day and you have like a weekly, if you journal every day, you could have a journal that could be like, what's your daily goal? What's your weekly goal? And say as a weekly goal, I mean, in the aspect of like trying to be a healthy individual, you want to eat like 10 healthy meals a week. A lot of the times though, and say you eat like only 5, if you're actually journaling, a lot of people don't take, I don't want to assume a lot of people, but I would assume in my own personal way that a lot of people won't be like, oh, writing down on a sheet of paper, I only ate 5 healthy meals this week instead of 10. Whenever they like try to write about something in a journal or notebook or whatever, they always think about the positive, which is a good thing. Like focusing on the positive is huge, but a lot of people don't take accountability when it comes to writing down something that they said they were going to do and then writing that they didn't do it, because when you have to actually write down that you didn't do it, you kind of feel like guilt. You're like, why didn't I do this? But a lot of people don't ever think of like the negatives when they write down. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm like portraying the right
I get what you're
message.
saying. I do.
So I don't know. It's different. Like we definitely talk about how journaling's huge. It's definitely benefited our lives a whole lot.
Well, I think kind of what you're getting at is, journaling or writing down things or like making a track for yourself is something that can apply in a lot of different aspects of your life, whether it is, like you said, dieting or whether it's professionally.
But you got to be accountable to write down the fuck ups, I think.
No, I definitely think the fuck ups, but I think more so, yes, the fuck ups, but also like what you're doing well. I know a big thing for me is I like to write down what my energy levels are like that day, like how I feel like I'm like handling things. I feel like a lot of it's about like, yes, we can get into the fuck ups as in like tangibly like, oh, I ate this or I didn't eat that, but I feel like a lot of it also has to surround your mental aspects and how you're approaching things.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes that's something that can get overlooked. I feel like I've
Definitely.
overlooked that as well.
Yeah.
I know that's definitely a huge tangent, but I'm just saying that it's not just maybe the tangible things, also the mental aspect of it.
So what do you guys like journal about? Like, what do you guys journal
So
about?
me personally,
go first.
I mean, I like to journal about, like I said, like my energy levels, like how much sleep I got, how I think it affected it. I love writing about specific scenarios, like if I happen to just like maybe I didn't snap at someone, but I was on the verge of snapping. I'm a little sociopath, but
We know.
But I like to write down like how I viewed things or like why I think I made decisions rather than the decisions I made, because I'm like try to be more introspective in my journaling. So I would say I journal introspectively to the maximum.
So you would get angry, have the conversation with that person, and then write about it later?
Okay, that makes you sound like I'm cuckoo.
I'm just wondering. No, I'm just wondering because I actually like have a similar experience. But I think that I like have had the experience where I journal about it before I have the conversation. Because typically, like, I don't want to have the conversation because I feel guilty about having anger towards people. But then I journal out, and then I'm like, oh, why am I angry about this? And you kind of can, like, dissect it once it's down on the paper. And the best thing I think about journaling is, like...
I want to call you out real quick.
What?
You said you want to talk or you want to write in the journal before that situation happens, but you also said that you wanted to write down why you were angry at that one moment in time. So you're, like... knowing that, are you initially writing in your journal knowing that, okay, obviously everyone here is going to be angry at some point in their life? Are you like, this is how I'm going to handle a situation when I'm angry? Or do you write down after an event happens and you go, I think about both sides. I understand where this person was coming from, but I was angry because of this. They felt this way.
Oh,
you know
I see
what I mean?
what you're saying. Okay, so the situation I'm thinking of is like if you kind of get in like an argument with somebody that you care about, and you don't come to terms with it. Like, neither person is satisfied at the end of that argument, but then you just decide to drop it until, like, a later date type of thing,
Right.
and then you journal about it. Like, for me, like, sometimes I get to the point where I'm, like, up to here, and I'm like, actually, like, we shouldn't keep continuing this conversation because I'm not even thinking straight. And then journaling actually helps me be like, what am I even, like, thinking? Like, let's not be petty. Like, let's actually get to the roots of, like, how
it's like self-evaluation.
Yes,
and, like,
and I think
that's
it
huge.
helps a lot.
Right, and that also works in, like, future, relationships. the way that you kind of just view life in general. Like, if I think we've all dealt with closed-minded people. So like when you try to like have a conversation with someone and they're just like, "No, you're wrong. Like I'm right." Da da. Like that's not interesting to be a part of that conversation. You know, obviously we all like to not like change our change our personalities to make everyone like us, but like we're not just going to initially step out of our front door and be like, all right, let's cause some hate today. We don't like cause love. There's already enough hate in the world that you kind of just want to spread the love and positivity that you've learned just throughout your life. So like I think journaling down allows you to get to that point. But at first, I will say, as a guy, when I first started journaling, I was like, no one needs to know I journal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I don't know if it's a guy thing. It could just be a me thing. It could be like an ego thing. I don't know. That could be it too. But it's the fact that it allowed me to initially just think about multiple perspectives.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I joke because I definitely think that is something that some people struggle with, and I think that's something that's also like if someone's afraid to journal per se, or like not afraid of it, they're afraid of like reactions. I feel like that has a lot to do with the way you can perceive things.
Definitely.
And about like just judgment and stuff like that. But I definitely think that you get to a point where that's not as important. You don't really care so much about who's judging you. You're more doing it for, like I said, for yourself. Because if you're journaling, it's supposed to be introspective.
Do you think that comes with age?
I think it comes with maturity, and
yeah.
I don't think maturity always comes with age, just because
That's very true.
as you get older, I feel like you kind of find out that maturity and age
Right.
are not as one-to-one as we think it is
Definitely,
when we're
definitely.
growing up. But I definitely think it's something that you can take away from.
It also just ties into everyone has a different perspective. And that's why like every human is honestly just super unique.
I mean, that is fair. That's super fair. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's like, all right, so just initially talking about like uniqueness and like just writing down in your journals and everything like that. So we all work 9 to 5s. Now it may be different times. We work 8 hours in a day. So like, do you guys personally like 9 to 5s, that 8-hour day? Or do you think when it ties into journaling as well, say you have like a rough day, you know how like sometimes spouses will come home and they just got done off their shift, come home for the day, and they just spout to their significant other, and they're just like, oh, I had this, I dealt with this today. It's like, do you think it's better to just journal it and revise all of your thoughts you have in your head into a journal and get all those thoughts out? Or do you think it's do you feel like a better benefit talking to an actual human about your issues, or do you feel better about writing it in a journal? Because I like writing in a journal to where it's like I don't want to put my issues on someone else. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. For me personally, if I have someone to talk to, I'm gonna probably talk to that person because
That's
I'm someone
real.
that likes to talk. Like I do like journaling. I think it's a super useful tool that you can use to benefit yourself in a lot of different aspects of your life. But at the same time, if I have you or Mari in the same room as me, I'll probably just reach out to that person. But also that goes for the situation. Like if I'm driving on the road, this hasn't happened. I don't. So just prefix this story. But say that I'm fucking going down, Highway 99 or whatever the road is. I don't know where Highway 99 is. But I'm flying and someone cuts me off. Okay, I'm going to flip that person off. I'm going to say, give him the bird and say, eat shit. And then when I go home, like say like I had a really bad day, I'm not going to write about telling someone to eat shit, but I'll just write, oh, okay, I had a frustrated day. I'll write that down. But if like, I have a conversation with someone that I know and love, I'm just going to go and approach that person personally.
No, it's definitely real. And
I went all the way around just because I wanted to talk about something.
No, you're good.
But
Well, I feel
You
like
know
I
what I'm
have a
saying?
different take on it. Like,
yeah, you go for it.
like
go for it.
if I'm coming home to a spouse, that's kind of the setting that you set.
Mhm.
It's like I would probably tell them and kind of vent to them and use them as like my verbal journal / like they would probably give me like positive or negative.
I love that.
Like they'd be real with me and
Mhm.
like give me feedback, or they would just listen.
Right.
But
Everyone loves listening.
The thing that's different is like, yeah, I could go into my room and journal, but like, as a spouse, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
like,
it was my spouse.
Like,
I'm spouting
hello?
off to you.
And when someone
yeah.
else does that to me and like feels comfortable enough to like vent to me, that to me like builds the relationship stronger. Like, oh, I'm your person that you need to just like
That's
take
real.
10 minutes and
Right.
just dump, and then you'll be good.
Right.
I definitely understand
that.
that, but I also feel like, I mean, now that we live together, you kind of understand like my mindset in a sense. If it's like an issue that I have, my initial standpoint on it is like I don't want to talk. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna bottle up emotions, but like two things. If I don't want to put my issues on another person, and so if I have issues every day, thinking long term, that could end in like could break up. You could have like a close relationship with like your spouse, and that could end up like being like divorce or something, if we're being real.
I feel like that's part of a relationship, though. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I
that's
feel like
definitely
that
real.
vulnerability that might be scary is a lot of the time what can hold relationships back is the lack of vulnerability. I feel like everyone's in a relationship where either they're not willing to open up to someone or someone's not willing to open up to them. And it doesn't matter if it's like on a point A level or you're fucking at Y and you can't get to Z. You know, it's like if you can't open, if there's a lack of vulnerability in a relationship. I'm not saying it directly relates to you, but I'm just saying more
In
from a general sense
right.
that can be super detrimental. And so I feel like if you do have someone that you feel like is dependable, I literally saw another meme that I saw, and it was like, it was someone that had a backpack on, and it's like a 4 battery backpack, and it's like, you know, the other person has 1 battery, and then someone takes one of their 4 batteries and gives it away. It's like, if you have someone that you know you can depend on, essentially is what it's getting at, then like use it. Like fucking use, like don't use that person like obviously in like a advantageous way, but if you have someone to depend on, you have someone you can vent to, fucking spout to him, dude, vent to him. Or if that's your journal and you feel like, you know, that's your safe place for whoever it is. But I'm saying like, but I feel like it's just healthy for people to
I think it
kind of
depends on the topic and like the depth of the topic
That's-
too.
yeah,
if
that's
it's like
so
something
true.
so deep to where I feel like I'm gonna, even if it's my significant other, I feel so close to them, I'm still gonna have that filter.
That's super fair.
Sometimes journaling, it's like I
You don't
write
have to.
things that I wouldn't say to anybody else in
And that
that
might be where you're
way
getting
because
at.
I don't have any
Yeah, it does.
filter on
Yeah,
paper.
that's fair.
Well, like I definitely like come. I don't know. I resemble with what she just said a lot too, because when I think about talking to, if I were to write it, like I'll keep all of my journals, whether it's from 5 years ago or whatnot. But it's a fact. It's like if I journal down why I'm happy, what I'm doing, like what are my actions that are making me happy.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to someone, obviously that just kind of. I mean, can you remember what you were talking to me about 5 days ago? Not. I don't know if I can.
Grilled cheese.
but when you have like a book and like when you have a journal and you write down in it, I guess my whole like perspective on the whole journaling or talking to someone about something is that you can be like, oh, if right now in this certain moment I'm super depressed or I'm down in the dumps, let me read through previous journals and let me read through a time in my life where I was super happy. I was like, what were my actions? What was I doing that got me happy? And then I can like kind of use that as like a little library of my own personal life to be like, oh, all right, so I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing this, and I wasn't expecting anything from anyone. I was super happy. Let me just start putting little key thoughts like that into my brain every day to like try to get myself back to that point. So
that's honestly commendable. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. I
That's
love
amazing.
it.
I don't think I'm as consistent with it because I'm definitely like
It takes
a more
discipline.
vulgar person, but I feel like that discipline and that routine is something that's damn.
Do you think you have more discipline, both of you guys, or more of a, I don't know, like a better understanding of yourself, being away from your family and friends, and so like you went to Europe. Where'd you go again?
I went to Greece and Italy.
You went to Greece and Italy. You went to New York.
Yeah.
Do you think you found more about yourself being kind of like not isolated, but like at the end of the day, you really only have your own self. If you were to think about it realistically, at least in my mind. So do you think you learned more about yourself being separated from, I don't know, easy ways to, let me reframe my thoughts. When you move away from your close friends and family, do you think you get a better understanding of who you are as an individual, or do you think you learn the same things if in each setting, if that makes any sense? It sounded right in my brain, but now that I'm talking about it, I don't know if it makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but Mari, what are your thoughts?
To me, when I hear that question, I like don't necessarily think like yes or no. So I feel like it's not. I don't think that's the variable that like makes me realize myself.
Or do you think you grow into
Sure.
you grow a lot more whenever you're like when you were in New York, when you were in Greece? I don't know if it's different. What do you get when you go someplace you've never been before? Like perspective? I guess that's what it is. Do you think you grow more as an individual? Like when you go into a setting that's very new and it's like perspective, you kind of have like only have yourself, kind of to where you want to like I don't know, you just are more methodical about what you're doing as opposed to
I think
being
you
at home.
learn what you like and don't like. We're still so young, so I feel like we're still kind of learning that no matter what setting we're in.
True.
But yeah, I don't know if it has anything to do with like being around your friends and family. or not. But I can see where you're going with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with that question, you're like,
Okay.
all right, you're like in the normal routine,
Right.
normal friends, normal family, and then you break away. Are you going to like learn more? I don't know.
Because in my mind,
I
it's
don't
like,
know.
it's almost like we have friends from high school that probably went to a college or a community college very close to your hometown. So you
Yeah.
go far away. Like,
Yeah.
I personally definitely, I grew so much moving to Pullman. I mean, just across state lines. Now imagine if you were like a different state or something too, going to college. I feel like you grow.
No, I feel like you grow, but I also feel like kind of what I feel like both you guys are getting at is like I definitely think you do grow like when you're away from your family and friends, but I don't know if it's in like the sense of, you know, new people, new interactions, so you learn more about yourself. I don't think that's like a one-to-one correlation. I think that you can grow further in situations that you're more familiar with or disfamiliar with, or I just think it has a lot to do with what you're taking from it and how you're, I don't know, how you're handling a situation. Like, I don't necessarily think that you have to be away from your family and friends, but I will say that when you are away from your family and friends in a situation that's new to you, you can't help but notice some of the dissimilarities between the culture that you're now submerged in and what you're previously in. So I do think that's a very real thing at the same time.
One thing
and I do
I
think you can take away from that.
Right, yeah. One thing I just thought about, though, it's like,
Culture's huge.
so if I went to high school with you and you knew XYZ about me,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's true or not true, like, these are kind of like the things that are attached to me, and then I go to like Greece and I meet you,
Mhm.
Christian, it's like I can kind of like pick which X, Y, or Z to like actually present to you, and it's
Mhm.
almost like a blank slate. So
X,
then
Y,
you
Z out of a personality? Or what do you mean?
personality or like a background or like
Just kind of
like
who
a
you
whole-
portray.
Just who they
Like,
are.
yeah, who
Okay.
you
you know,
portray
some groups you're the
yourself
funny guy,
as.
the other groups you might be the fly on the wall.
True.
May-
Yeah.
That's real.
I
That's
get what
real.
you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's why I liked going to college. It's because like in high school I felt like distant from the person I was portraying myself as to the person who I was. Like I didn't like I kind of felt like this dissonance, and then like college it was like nobody knows me here. Like I can.
So you're
blank
saying your
slate.
social media presence is a lot more different than you are personally.
It's not social- I don't even think it was social media.
I'm just kidding.
And that was shade.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I know exactly what you're saying. I had the exact same thing that I
The
was
blank
like,
slate, like
yeah.
feeling.
holy shit.
Like a feeling of like starting over in a sense. In a new place you're not really, you've never been.
Yeah.
Mari, when you said that shit, I felt that. Good quality.
No, but like, so have you ever like? I've actually met people. Like, say you're at a bar with somebody. I've had somebody, and I was in this like vibe that day, and they were like, "You are such a grounded hippie person," and I'm like, I have aspects of that, but I don't think that's who I am like all the time. I think I'm kind of crazy sometimes. I'm not grounded at all.
You seem
But-
like you hang out with some weird people.
I'm just saying, like, you could meet me in 1 hour and
Right.
draw like the Y, but there's X, Y, Z, and like, I don't know. It's
No,
that
that
blank
goes-
slate.
Christian and
like,
I have literally.
I love that blank slate of like moving somewhere new.
Christian and I literally have talked about like
God.
not judging someone on the chapter of their life that you walk into. So like,
Okay.
and that can be corresponding to so many other aspects of your life, and it's just like, all right, that person met you, they saw you in New York, or they saw you in Greece, and they just met you that one time, and like you know personally that you probably come so far just from that, like from 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and like they're just seeing you at this initial thought, and like you know that you've changed so much and transitioned, and it's obviously everyone likes trying to be like a better person every single day, so it's like I don't know, they always come in and people just like to judge. I judge a lot, honestly. It's bad. I definitely try to stop, but I think people just judge. I think it's just human nature, unfortunately.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But how was
We
the
need some water.
how was the culture from? Yeah, we can get some. How was the culture from?
Is that our water pitcher for today?
Yeah. How was the culture from?
For the record,
West
that's my
Coast-
water.
West
I
Coast.
know.
Oh. How was the culture
Bro.
from West Coast to East Coast?
Yeah, this is a question I didn't know how to answer.
I guess like human interactions. If you don't know how to answer,
Alright.
that's fine. But like human interactions.
My
from the-
water was 3/4
All right,
full.
I'm super upset.
I took most of it.
So what I think we're gonna do right now is we're gonna
Take a
play some
break.
music, and we're gonna take a second, right?
Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm done with
Keep
this.
talking. No, we're not done. No, keep talking. We're chilling. We're
Hey,
chilling.
fuck it.
We're
I'm
chilling.
done, dude.
All right. Culture.
We're good.
No, we're not.
No, I'm saying we're good.
So I lived there
You're
only
not
6
good.
months,
Let's play
and they're
some-
asking me
let's
about
play
the
some
culture.
tunes. Let's play
and
some
it was-
tunes.
Take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are back.
What's up, bitches?
Had to take an intermission real quick, but that's all right. I mean, shit happens.
Shit happens.
Where were we even ending that off at? Where were we at?
Last thing I remember is
I remember journals.
journals.
That
Journals
might
were
be-
good.
That might be far though.
No, you were like, talk about the culture.
But that's
And I was
exactly
like,
that's how I sounded.
We're down.
I was like, talk about the culture, guys.
Talk about your culture. Talk about your experiences, Mari. I mean,
Hey, talk about your experiences moving to New York during the outbreak. Did like anything specifically stick out to you
Yeah,
during
the-
that like transition?
Rona season pandemic.
So I
Were you
kind of
nervous?
had.
Let me cut you out. Let me answer for you. Were you nervous?
Did you get Rona?
Of course.
Are you? Can you spit in our mouths? Can you give us Rona too?
Okay.
He's down.
Anyways, so. Oh! Is that wet? Okay. You actually missed that perfectly.
Let's take another intermission.
We're gonna do this?
No.
You missed
No,
it
keep going.
perfectly.
All right, did anything stick out to you when you were transitioning to like completely across the United States during the COVID outbreak?
Should I hold it the whole time?
No, it's not that serious. You're Gucci.
Did anything stick out to me?
Like-
Nothing could have either.
So
Like,
I would just say,
No, guys, I had an answer. I just was trying to adjust this.
just the mic.
I feel like it's too low.
No. Talking it.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good.
Hi, Mari.
Are you sure the frequencies aren't too low?
No, you're good.
Anyways,
I
so
asked someone and they said it's good.
Yeah, when I kind of initially had the idea that, hey, I'm going to move to New York, but I was kind of like timid about it, like I'm not sure. Corona actually kind of was a part of the reason why I did it so suddenly was because I thought that they were going to shut down the state borders.
Right. Oh, that's definitely real.
And yeah, there was that like time during like March and April where I was like, I felt like Washington was getting a new update every 48 hours.
The CDC is slightly fucking.
What?
Keep going.
I just felt like we were getting like new updates every 48 hours, and I was literally buying a plane ticket at that point because I didn't know if I should drive or just get over there and fly over there and
Right.
call it that.
How long was that flight?
I don't know. I
You're
think
small, so planes definitely work better for you than us two over here.
How long was the flight? Probably 8 hours. I don't know.
Mm.
No.
It was
It's
a
irrelevant.
dick-
I don't know why I asked.
Yeah, so what I was going at was that originally, like, if it was planned out and you were moving across the country, you would take your car and all your stuff, right? But
Right.
it was kind of just like a spontaneous, like, I gotta go. So
real.
I hopped on a plane.
So to compare that to driving, obviously when you drive, like, okay, us going to WSU, going to Pullman, we drove everything in our car. Did you leave a lot of shit behind and just kind of expect or think about, all right, I got to be in a plane, so obviously the less shit I bring, the I don't know, the more financially friendly it'll be? Would you just have the mindset of like buying a lot of stuff there that you need for your house?
So when I was there, the house was set up, so I didn't have to have like household items,
Okay.
but I had, you know, my own clothes and toiletry items in a big suitcase when I flew there. But even being there for like a month and a half, 2 months with just one suitcase full of stuff, I'm like, wow, I'm kind of bored of wearing like the same outfit every day.
Right.
But, you know.
Actually, I got a question about the outfits too. The stuff that you brought over to New York, could you tell a difference in like fashion from West Coast to East Coast? Like what you
I
brought, did
wish.
you be like, oh, I feel like I'm out of, not saying you don't want to be out of place, but like, could you be like, oh, I could definitely tell a difference in how these people on the West or East Coast dress as opposed to me coming from like Richland, Washington
Yes.
or something?
So I wish, okay, so if I were living in New York City, fuck yeah, because you would kind of like dress to the, I feel like they have
I know
like
what you're saying.
yeah, like
It's a little more uppity. Not
they-
uppity,
and they express
but
themselves
the fashion
differently.
is on a different
It
level.
doesn't necessarily have to be like a brand or like certain
It's more
expensive
like streetwear, I
type
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe not uppity, but it's definitely more of a fashion.
Right.
Yeah, and
Culture.
Pullman,
Fashion is
basic.
culture. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
don't
Pullman.
compare New York City to Pullman.
For those that don't know,
WSU
Pullman
though?
is
If
in
you
the
have
sticks.
blue
They
jeans and
say-
boots, you fit in anywhere in Pullman.
Pullman's in
right?
the sticks,
Which
absolutely.
has its place. It's kind of nice because it's kind of like a uniform, right? Like
Right.
you just like wear the same thing. You don't have to like think about it. But like New York City, I remember visiting and I was just like on this high of like, wow, everybody looks so cool. Like everybody's like expressing themselves in a certain way, and it's not socioeconomic status type of thing. Like people are getting stuff from like Goodwill. Like we went to a vintage shop.
Yeah.
Vintage shop. I can barely say it.
That's a tough word.
But it's like you can pick out
no,
what you
I'm
want.
being so dead serious. Vintage. I can't say it.
Vintage shop. But it's like you actually get to like choose your style versus like doing the cookie cutter type of, you know, outfits that honestly Tri-Cities kind of has like the same vibe as Pullman.
Is it kind of crazy how we kind of judge people on how they dress in the sense of like if you kind of could see yourself being friends with someone?
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't generally judge someone on how they dress. So I'm basically if I can be friends with them. I definitely.
I guess that was a bad way to portray it, but keep going.
No, I know what you're saying though, and I feel like for me it's more so about like if I see someone, I like if they're expressing themselves, I completely vibe with that. I think that's a super cool thing that people can do because that's like one of the only outlets I feel like you can outwardly express who you are inwardly to like people you don't know. I'm not saying that's something that everyone wants to disclose, and that's why some people just wear, you know, black or you know gray tones or whatever the case may be. But I'm saying I feel like fashion is a huge thing, and like how you dress can definitely express.
I mean, dress good, feel good, do good.
Yeah, exactly. Look good, feel good. Also, that's
I
like
kind of
that's
want
up
to
to
ask you guys, like as guys, because I know as girls, like we have. I feel like as guys, you kind of have. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never been in your shoes.
We will.
But you have a smaller like variety to choose from necessarily, but girls like you have like this large variety. So like sometimes when I'm like stepping out, I've actually felt like, oh, I really like this outfit like when I'm in my bedroom and I'm like looking at myself in the mirror, and then I go out and it's like nobody else like really is expressing themselves. Everybody's fitting into this cookie cutter like vibe, and I feel really weird. Even though I like my outfit, I'm just like, am I being like obnoxious right now? I don't know.
I would say off the jump,
You've probably got a better answer than I do.
guys' clothes are much more expensive than women's clothes as a general.
Expensive? I didn't say expensive.
Hold up, really?
No, I'm saying expensiveness. Like, yes, bro.
Okay, but
is there
think
anywhere?
about like
does any guy have anywhere? Okay, I'm gonna get there. Outside of like purses and like things that are like kind of like known to be more expensive, like accessories or like certain items. As a whole, you cannot find a nice pair of jeans even look good for $30. But you have Forever 21s, you have all these different clothing. There's just a lot more clothing options. So I'm not saying it's. So I guess when I say it's more inexpensive, that's not true. But I'm saying the breadth of options is a lot more limited for guys, in my opinion. And I would say that goes into how guys dress, because a lot of guys from the jump aren't comfortable spending a lot of money on clothes. So now you have the fact that guy A might not want to spend money on clothes, and then also when he goes and buys a pair of Levi jeans, it's $85.
It's also the fact that when you say you buy a good pair of jeans, just what you referenced, it also depends on the person. Because like a good pair of jeans to like say a.
But Levi's, a pair of Levi's.
But I'm saying
let's
like
go from the very basic of Wranglers.
In my mind,
$60.
In my mind, no. Okay, so what's the Nordstrom store? It's not Nordstrom, but it's Nordstrom Rack. You know what I'm talking about? Where they get the older year versions of certain clothes. I ended up buying some like these jeans that were called Lucky Sevens, and I didn't know what they were.
Lucky's it's a brand.
And so I looked up the price of what they would have been. It would have been like $90, but like Nordstrom Rack. Literally, it was the first time I went to Nordstrom Rack. My mind was blown. I had no idea.
Okay, I know, I hear you, but I'm saying
what
like
about
the options,
okay,
though?
It depends on good whatever. I mean, option wise, it depends on your mindset of what a good piece of clothing is. Like in my mindset, it's like if I can wear this while I work and I can wear this while I'm like trying to go out on the town and like look a little bit more spiffy, like to me that's a good pair of apparel. But I think okay, if I were to compare, you have sisters. All right, girls' swimsuits are fucking absurdly expensive. I feel like they're not all of them, but like the ones that they like, I'm like the top is $40 and the bottoms are like $60. I'm like that's absurd. Like why is it not like a one-piece thing? So I think it really depends on just the perspective of who you are as an individual, as to like if guys have a more selective option when it comes to clothes as women. Because I think women probably layer more than men do. Maybe? Do you think? Or no?
Women in general? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's okay. I feel like that's detract. I feel like the only point that I'm making is that
maybe I took it off track.
If you look at how much women's clothes is sold versus male's clothes is sold, I guarantee it's 3 or 4 times more, period, there
Should we
are
look it
so
up?
many more retailers for women's clothing than men's
Oh,
clothing.
no doubt, you're
That,
right.
that on a basis tells me that there's a lot more women willing to spend money on clothes, and there's a lot more clothing available. There's a lot more clothing options available. If you go into any like fashion store, like even a Nordstrom, or it doesn't matter, a fucking Target,
Yeah.
anything, anywhere you go, there's gonna be 3 to 4 times women's clothes to men's clothes, and also if you go look
true.
through it, it's cheaper
Yeah,
for women.
But
Clothing is cheaper.
Especially
Okay,
people who are small
no.
and they can fit in children's. That's the way to go.
no.
Small feet women. We hate
Goodbye.
you. Okay.
Small feet men.
No, I'm just kidding. We love you.
We're not gender criticism here. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
I wish I could. Okay, Mari.
Okay, what I'm saying is like what you're wearing right now, that is going to last like through the trends. Like I feel like guys' clothing, like the trends are more of like a low, like steady
real.
wave, and you don't really have to change it up. Like girls will hate on a jean jacket in a couple years.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Like
think
it's like you can't wear this.
I would think guys.
Throw it away.
I think
No, I
guys
hear you,
probably
actually.
buy something that they initially think, oh, am I going to wear this a lot? As opposed to my personal perspective, I think girls probably buy most, not all of them, but most of their clothing apparel within the times of fashion of whatever that
Our
subject may be.
trends are
But
just
yeah,
more
no.
spiked.
Honestly, as soon as you went where you're going, Mari,
Right.
I was like, "Ah, man, she's gonna destroy me on this one because.
Oh, you ain't destroying us. No, we're
Because
strong.
you're
It's
totally
2-1 right here.
Different.
Because you're totally right. It is just completely different because women, I feel, obviously, I'm not a woman, but I'm saying women are more, like, more pointed towards following trends of fashion rather
Yeah.
than men because it's always going to be blue jeans and a t-shirt. But
Mhm.
women, I definitely feel like maybe have a lot more social, like, not responsibility, but it's like social, like, aptitude to where you wear trends or whatever because it looks good and guys maybe aren't as like fashion sensible,
Right.
and so therefore
okay.
you're kind of more
'Cause-
liable to you spend more money on clothes because it's kind of like it's
even
not.
down to the
yeah.
color.
Do you think
Yeah.
that ties
Color
in?
of
Do you think that
things.
ties into
God, I hate the world.
to guys thinking like trying to be just knowing our mindset of just being guys? You think the guys are like, all right, I look good in this. I don't care what other people think about how I look because I know I feel good, even though in someone else's mind it could be different. Do you think a woman could be like, I'm gonna get this because obviously like I feel good, but like do you think I'm gonna try to impress someone?
I honestly
I don't
don't think
know.
it has a lot to do with the gender. I think it just has to do about what's been perpetuated. And I
True.
feel like at this point, there's kind of no reversing it, and so that's why like trends will come and go. But that is always signaled by a change in a trend is always signaled by a change in a women's fashion trend, and then guys will follow along or whatever. Like even when it's like I don't know, like e-girl vibes, like
E-girl, what's that?
Emo.
you know what e-girl is, like Billie Eilish, like the e-girl.
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
e-girl
Oh,
waves.
I was off.
I'm saying
track.
all those trends. I'm saying all like if you look at it, almost all like trends
I
that are
was
like
too.
major are usually like initiated by a change in women's clothing trend. Like it's.
Right.
That's real though.
I saw a documentary on it and it was on.
Well, dude, I even
something.
I
It's
even
on-
have
it's on something.
whenever Christian and I go out for a night or something like that, like where so he grew up in Portland, I grew up in Olympia, a little bit different in the sense of like just simply the way people dress too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
no,
if
definitely.
whenever we go out, I grew up with 2 sisters, so I'll be like, hey,
You look like a whore.
Cece. I'll be like,
I'm just
Cece,
kidding.
do you know,
Don't
how do I
know.
look? Does this outfit make sense? Like, or does it look good? Because like I'll put something on, and they were like, I mean, I like how blunt my sisters are too, but it might just be like a brother sister thing. My sister will be like, that does not work. I'm like, oh, thank you. So like he's more into the fashion scene than I am, but obviously I would like to feel good, look good, do whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like I'll be like,
Look at
I'll
those
come.
glasses.
Christian will be ready. Exactly. These glasses are fire. But I'll come outside into the living room. Christian will be on the couch and be like, hey, bro, how's this look? He's like, nah. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I go change it. And I'm thinking I'm like bettering what my outfit looks like. And I come back out and he goes, okay, I'm looking at your closet. And I'm like, thank you, dude. And I was like, this is what I'm
That's
about.
the best type of friend.
I
That's
know.
like, no, you look bad.
Honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, and that goes into the last episode we talked about. It's just like, it depends on like who you're talking to, obviously. Like, everyone's all, and not to revolve it around health, but like, if someone's like, dog, you're fat, you gotta like lose weight. Like, I love that type of constructive criticism. I would rather have someone be like, oh, like the anxiety that I got from having my internal thoughts being like all this and all that. You know how like anxiety is like obviously super different for every person in general?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is like, how do you personally, you guys, deal with anxiety yourself, or in another perspective, how do you deal with someone that you know has high anxiety, and like how you can kind of make them feel better, but also know that you like the way you're trying to make them feel is not like if they're super anxiety ridden, it's not going to affect your mood. Like how do you know what I'm saying? Like there's two different perspectives to it. To how do you handle anxiety? How do you deal, I guess, with someone who has anxiety, but you're a close friend to them, or a good friend?
I think we
to
should
them?
like break that question up.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
too-
So how do you guys deal with anxiety yourself? That's a good point.
Why don't we start with what does anxiety mean?
Yeah. What is
to-
anxiety?
like, how do you perceive anxiety in the sense of,
True.
like, what does it mean to you, and like, what's up? Oh, the handshake. Oh,
That was a way better question than mine. I was just rambling.
No, you're good. I get where you're getting
Right.
at too, but at the same time, that's a loaded question.
No, I do think like anxiety, when I think about it for myself, it's something that is mentally, emotionally distracting. It's not a good place to be, but also like it manifests in such physical ways. And I've noticed throughout my lifetime that like sometimes I don't know I have anxiety until it comes out in a physical aspect. Like I have a headache, or
Yeah.
I have like this crazy stomach ache, and now I'm thinking about like, well, what did I eat? And then it's like, oh no, I'm just like really anxious, and that's why my stomach is like going crazy.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm freaking out. So I think anxiety, it's just kind of like an ever-changing thing too, because and that's why it's frustrating. It's like sometimes
So it's
anxiety.
evolving.
Yeah,
It is.
it's like, damn it,
the
like
fuck
why are
away.
you like
Take a back seat.
right? Yeah,
Take a
and
back seat, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, it's so frustrating. I think when I've had the worst anxiety, it feels like something unattached to me, like that I hate, but it's right here, and I just want to like
It's like that saying, it's
dump
on the
it.
tip of your tongue. But you can't attack it right.
right, yeah. So that to me, that's what anxiety feels like. What about you?
How does anxiety like, or I guess obviously everyone has different types of anxiety.
What about you?
I don't know if I mean I don't know how to really explain anxiety. I'm gonna take what Mari said, and I would assume that's got to be the best answer that at least I can come up with, because she obviously did you not learn about anxiety, but like in college did you take courses going into a psych degree in human development
Broadened your
that
perspective
kind of
on
just
it.
had like maybe like anxiety was a topic, or it broadened the horizon of like your initial thoughts of how people deal with it? Like, did you learn about anxiety in any form or any way in college in general?
So I think my education in psychology actually started more in high school, and I felt like I came from a background that was very like, my family members are super like mentally tough. We didn't really talk about like mental illness necessarily, but I had these friends, like my best friends, that were going through, you know, anxiety and depression, and I remember the feeling of being like, chill the fuck out, like why
Right.
are you anxious? Like when you don't have anxiety and you are trying to understand that, I remember that feeling of being like, calm down, like I don't get it. Like, is it just the feeling that you get when you go in front of a class and give a speech? Like, that wears off. Like,
Right.
just chill out. But then you have anxiety every day, and you're like, oh, this
You're like, shit,
is
I would
the
hate for someone to be
worst."
judging my anxiety right now.
But,
Yeah.
but I also
I know
feel
what
like,
you're
you know
saying.
how everyone tries to like, not everyone, but you know how a lot of people everyone likes to focus on the positive, but you know how some people will be like, oh, I'm like, today I'm upset or whatever, or I'm sad, or I have a lot of anxiety, and they like try to like, I don't even know. I don't know. The initial thought in my mind sounded better than how I'm actually like saying this, but you know how when someone is like trying to, they're not like super positive. So like today you could wake up, or tomorrow you could wake up and you are either sad or something that you're not really vibing with, because obviously everyone wants to vibe like on a high level. Do you think that, to tie it back into journaling, do you think like, because we journal, us three, do you think that gives us an advantage on someone who doesn't, in the sense of we kind of know how to like analyze our own behaviors and analyze the situations that we put ourselves in to know, all right, well, I feel this way because of this one thing, or whatever you wrote down in your journal? Do you think just having a journal kind of gives you an advantage in the sense of like you think more gray area of a life as opposed to black and white? Because I'm super black and white, but journaling kind
right.
of gave me like a gray area and like the way my creative mind thinks.
Yeah, no, so off the jump, I would say I'm also mostly black and white, but
You and I are.
yeah, I know, yeah, no, definitely. But I would say like on a more general sense, I would say I don't even think it revolves around like the actual journaling. I think journaling is a useful tool, like I said, but I think that it just more so comes down to whether or not you're open to being honest with yourself in the sense of what is journaling. Okay, so journaling is, yeah, we're writing down how we're feeling, we're getting it all on paper. That's good, but we can use that. But why can we use that? It's because we're emotionally available to use what we're writing down. We're not shutting ourselves off to journaling or talking to someone. That's why when Mari, you referenced like verbal journaling, like having someone to like talk to. So I would say like I don't feel like I have an advantage over someone else, but I would say that I can definitely recognize that when I am more like emotionally inept to like have my like that sounds so ridiculous, but having
No,
my
say it.
like feelings like in like being able to see my feelings and like look yourself in the mirror, it also when you can kind of take that introspective time for yourself, then when you know your friend is also going through anxiety that could be worse than yours, like from your perspective, like you think their anxiety is worse than yours or whatever the case is, I feel like it allows us to then be able to be someone that is more dependable for the person that is going through those anxieties. So I don't know. I don't know if journaling necessarily gives us an advantage, but I feel like just different practices that include journaling or verbal journaling
I
or
guess
things
that's
like
more.
that
That's more
can more
right.
so allow us to be able to.
Not initially journaling, but like literally you kind of hit it better than I did. But just the fact that like you self-analyze yourself, like if you self-analyze yourself, you can like get messages or get the feelings that you portray.
Honestly, I just feel like a lot of times when I'm doing things like journaling, a lot of it is like, yes, for my benefit, but it also helps me understand someone that I'm in a relationship with,
Right.
whether that's, you know,
Yeah.
romantically or platonically, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
When you can kind of understand someone else and understand their perspective, obviously you're not in their shoes, so maybe understand isn't the right word, but when you can kind of get a hang of what they're going through and you're also experiencing some similar things, then at that point you can kind of, you know, make some headway.
No, that's definitely real. And I don't know, I guess to split the first question I had up in general, how do you, I don't know if you kind of just answered it right there, but you could have a different answer. How do you like personally handle your anxiety, or if you have anxiety? I don't know if you just answered it right there, or if you'd like to respect or reflect on like a different thought process
like,
of it.
Personally, like not talking like a more like topic based answer or general like answer, I would say personally I do different things like just getting my mind frame outside of what it is. So if I'm had a shitty day but I was just in my bed in my feels, then the next day I'm probably not going to wake up and sit in my bed. I'm not going to let myself become victim to, because me personally, I'm a creature of habit. So if I just allow myself to fall into the same situations that took me to a point to where, you know, I felt anxious or like anything of those along those lines, and I'll do something out of the ordinary, even if that's something as small as hanging out with people that you haven't hung out with in a while, or going on a run, you know, whatever. If you like hiking, which is cliche, go hiking, you know, whatever.
So it's not cliche, honestly. I feel like now, I think actually since Corona, before wildfires started in different places like the U.S., and I think a lot of people would like, they always think it's cliche to say hiking, but like, okay, for instance.
We're from the Pacific Northwest. We like to fucking hike.
Yeah, exactly. It also depends on where you're from. I literally bought all this shit to go backpacking. All right, fires came. So to respect the parks and everything, and the parks were also shut down. So like I couldn't. Not parks, but you know what I mean, like
I think they're called parks.
Trails, whatever. I've literally had this, like, I have this abundance of stuff that it's ready for backpacking. Dog, I haven't used it once. I've had it for like 3 months. So it's like, to say it's cliche, I don't think it's cliche at all. It's more so like where you grew up, and also like what type of state you're in and what type of like activities are happening. And like also, that's why I like Colorado in general, because Colorado, I mean, this is totally off topic in a sense, but Colorado, when I went there, I went to Denver. They have, just the vibe is like super outdoorsy. Mm-hmm. That's like what really attracts me to like the lifestyle of like Colorado, or at least Denver in general.
What's up, my homies in Denver?
Denver, Colorado.
Fuck with your boy.
I love it.
I was washing my face today with St. Eves.
I know exactly what you're talking
Ivers?
about. St. Ives?
Angry Orchard?
Whatever.
St. Ives.
I looked at the back and it was like, did you know that spending time in nature reduces anxiety? And I've thought about that in the shower, and I'm like sitting in Seattle, you know, like washing my hair, and I'm like, we started as like humans only in nature, and now we have to advertise it on the back of our bottle and be all like,
That just shows you how far humans have gotten
Right,
off
like,
track. Not
Yeah.
off
"Go
track,
on a
but
walk for 10 minutes
So you-
out
Do you
on
mean
the
that
earth."
we shouldn't
and we're
sit in
like,
our cubicles for 9
I
hours
don't
a
have
day?
time for that. Yeah.
okay. Speaking about cubicles, I love how I think a lot of people
That's so true.
don't understand. Obviously, if you like the woods, you like nature. That's one thing. If you don't, like, you have a different type of relief system that you kind of implement within your like own thoughts and like what you do on your actions on a day-to-day basis. But like personally, and I could say probably to Mari and me, and you probably, I guess I don't know necessarily from your standpoint, just because you were from Portland and like that's a lot different than Olympia in the sense of like nature or woods. So like last weekend I went to the beach with my parents, and like that's not woods, but it's like literally just a time for you to just like kind of relax and like reflect on, not just like, you don't go there initially thinking you're just going to reflect on your life or whatever. You just go there and like you're there to relax. The nature, it's like there's no one surrounding you. When you go on a hike, you're with your close friends. You do all this, and it's like you kind of get a like just a, I don't even know how to describe it, but like say us three went on a hike, we would come out of that experience for the day with like a clearer mindset than if we were to not go drink at a bar, but if we were to like take a walk around the city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes
definitely.
sense. I don't know.
Definitely. No, it definitely makes sense. I would say that's kind of, just goes back to the topic of nature does help relieve anxiety. And I think that's why, we have a tough day and we go outside and we take a deep breath of fresh air. I feel like that's where that all stems from. I feel like if we can actually like ingrain our minds to like acknowledge that we need to be outside and we don't need to be inside and cooped up, that's huge to me.
I got a question for both of you guys. You know how these businesses now are trying to have like, most of them are saying that you guys can work from home now? Do you think that's actually going to benefit the future of American citizens, or do you think it's
No.
going to decrease it?
Decrease.
I'm the same way.
Why?
Because you get social interaction from your workplace. Like, that's part of the reason I enjoy working, is because
Mhm.
I get connected to these people that I wouldn't necessarily be connected to. And I, like, even if I'm getting coffee or I'm going to the bathroom, I have these little short conversations that could develop that relationship. If I'm at home trying to, like, self-motivate myself on the couch, like, I could be watching TV, I could be
Mhm.
cooking, I could be, like, doing whatever. It just sucks. Like, after a while, like, you think it's like, oh, this is so amazing. Yeah, maybe it would be different if we were parents. And it's like, yeah, I can be a
Right.
parent
Yeah.
at the same time that I work and make money.
About priorities. I get that at that point.
That would be totally
Mhm.
different. I can't speak on that. But, like, for me, I'm like, I want to go into the office and talk to people.
I feel like with this transition, we're in the progression of like having people just become more introverted and like hermits.
No, I definitely agree.
People
And
do
I
that.
feel like
More than they already are.
Right. And
Yeah.
we're already, a lot of people are
Because
significantly
of social
introverted.
media and everything.
Right. Yeah, honestly.
No, I completely agree. Honestly, I was just kind of playing devil's advocate because I feel like if you ask a lot of people, you'll hear that same sentiment where people like going to the office. People like the day-to-day interactions they have with their coworkers.
You got a
Because-
40-year-old best friend. You're like, God, I can't believe he's not here today.
I know, you're like-
but what if it's an option? Like, what if you
If
had,
it's
like,
optional,
yeah, Monday through Friday, and you pick 3 days.
Americans are lazy, and they would just definitely, majority of them would stay home.
Okay,
I'm a,
but you
take that.
have to.
Okay.
You have to go in for 3 days, and it's optional. So then,
Right.
say, hey, I have a daughter who does ballet Tuesdays and Thursdays. It would really benefit me to work from home Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
Like, can that be an option? Can we, like, work? Can we be more flexible
huge
around
thing.
people and not be like, oh, you're lazy?
No, I completely
have
agree. I
kids.
could not agree more because I think that would contribute. The fact right now, so on the flip side of me being, you guys are saying, okay, well, if you work remote, that's going to kind of lead to a more introverted society. People are going to maybe be a little lazier, right? But then on the flip side of that is, okay, well, person A might have kids and she needs to pick them up, or he or she needs to pick them up Tuesday and Thursdays. Okay. So right there, not having the option, I feel like contributes to a lot of people having this anxiety, because work anxiety is a huge thing that I think literally everyone deals with.
Balance.
Work-life balance is
Yeah,
a huge
yeah.
thing. So I feel like not saying that remote is going to help alleviate those or cause more, which I'm not saying, I don't feel like either way, but I'm saying this scenario is not relevant. But
That was a weird noise.
The
I
cord,
apologize.
bro.
I know.
The cord. But all I'm saying is that when people have the option to choose, I feel like that's going to alleviate a lot of work-life balance, distraction, and a lot of anxieties. And I feel like that is going to be where we kind of figure out as a whole that not everyone in every industry and every fucking corporation needs to be on the same schedule. And I feel like there is a lot of companies that are going away from that. A lot of companies now, you can choose your own start time, and you just have to work, a certain amount of hours.
Yeah, right.
I feel like that has been a huge step, and that is something that is huge in the Seattle area. That's incredibly beneficial, because if you're someone, your biological clock, you cannot be up and running and productive until 9 o'clock, but then person B, they're ready at 5 o'clock. I feel like there has to be that leeway. And so I don't know, I just feel like that has to do with more on societal level, where I don't know if necessarily remote is the option, but I don't know if 9 to 5 is the option either, because I hate to say it, but realistically majority of the population works at 9 to 5.
So do you feel like you can get the same amount of work done remotely? Because from my experience, when I'm sitting at the table with people, there's a certain amount of energy, and like it's just easier to be like, hey, look at this, like I printed this out, or like let's draw this up right now, that I can't get on Zoom.
I feel like when you're at a work environment, you have the internal drive to just automatically be, okay, I don't want my coworkers to think I'm lazy, so I'm going to work harder. Now, if you're in a home setting and you're just kind of by yourself, or with your spouse who's also working from home too, I'm not saying like you're going to be lazy, but it's going to be easier, because it's like, all right, well, obviously you love your spouse. You're not thinking that she's going to think you're lazy, as opposed to your coworkers who you're doing the same job. It's almost like a group project. Like when you're at work, could be like a group project. You're trying to get the best bang for your buck. And it's like, I feel like you got to drive. At least I do. I got to drive just because like, I don't want my coworkers to think I'm lazy, so I'm just going to keep going. But if I was home, I'm not good at that. I would definitely like take advantage of it, and I would be a lazy fucker if I were from home. So I don't want to do it.
I don't believe that you'd be a lazy fucker, because I like you, and I like to think that you're going to get the best out of all your situations.
That's respect. That's a real guy right there. You guys know him? You should be friends with him. He's a cool guy.
I don't know what to say. I'm blushing. I mean, you can't see that I'm blushing.
Can you see it? He's blushing. He's red now.
I'm blushing. But I don't know.
I guess more so like...
I actually had a lot more to say about the anxiety thing. I think we should go back.
I mean, we're still on it.
Yeah.
We're still
Chop
on
it
it.
up.
Yeah, we're still on it.
Yeah, so what was the second part? Because the first part was like, how do you see it? And the second part was...
like, for like the anxiety thing, I think dealing with anxiety and not understanding it, there was like that barrier, and then to break through that barrier in the worst way possible, to like actually have it yourself every day, you start to like wonder. I think it comes, so I think the best way to tackle anxiety is like to build some self-awareness. And any health problem, it's probably like, listen to your body. And that sounds so cliche, like, oh, listen to your body, whatever. But a lot of people I hear having anxiety, they're just like, this, and this is it. And it's like, you need to like think about the roots. Like, stop adding things. Like
ground yourself.
Start purging. Like, start like...
Talk about the movie?
No,
I killed someone.
no, but
No,
like, do you ever have friends where they're like, I am so stressed out, and then this is happening, and then this, and a lot of times it ends up affecting your digestive system, and you're just like, I feel sick all the time, and I also have anxiety, so I'm taking anxiety medication, but then I feel depressed, so I'm taking, and then I'm also ADHD, so I'm taking Adderall, and it's like, you need to stop, like, you need to like take it down. And I'm not a doctor, but it's like,
you're not?
no,
I thought it was Dr. Mara over here.
No, I'm just saying, it's like, let's like eliminate everything. Are you in an environment that is conducive to mental health? Like, maybe, like, has anybody ever talked about how like getting out of college is like really hard? Like, we are in like a very good social environment, and then you get out of college, you're in a big city where you don't know anybody, and you're trying to do this job where you might not feel even adequate.
And they're
right?
like, hey, work
you're at the
40 hours a week and not know what the fuck you're doing.
Bottom of the food chain.
And don't forget to ask questions and be really, personable, and also like communicate and don't go over the top, and you're like, how am I supposed to go to the top when I don't fucking know what you're saying?
Feel fine.
It ties into like it all is dependent on how the person lets it consume them, but also depends on how they think. So you think if you're super depressed, you're super you have a lot of anxiety on a day-to-day basis, a lot of people will just do the things that are comforting to them because that gives them like the little short-term enjoyment. But it's the fact that they're not thinking that they're not. Like, I think the people, I don't know if I can describe this perfectly, but if the people who are have a lot of anxiety on a day-to-day basis, they let it consume them and they let it fuel their depression, their anxiety, whatever they may be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So their mind is not obviously as creative as it could be as if they were a happy individual. So you thinking that this person, like, why would you let it consume you? Why would you let it, like, take over your whole life? I don't think personally, I was super depressed in college, but it's irrelevant in the fact that the mindset of it, though, kind of ties into where I wasn't thinking about how to like better myself and get out of depression. Obviously, you don't want to like sit there and be in like in a negative mindset, but your thoughts aren't as creative or like diverse as you want them to be when you're in that stage of mind. So like, I don't think they initially can even think about trying to do something to get them out of that. Like, you know, like how they say there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Like, people can believe that, but like, people can hear that and like take it in. But if you really believe it, I think you could eventually get yourself there. But I guess more so, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. When you're in a dark state of mind, it's hard to think about the outside factors of what you could do to get out of it. Obviously, no one wants to stay there, but you're just kind of focused on the negative in that mindset. So it's like.
So then what did you do to snap yourself out? Because you did. You left your environment.
So I left the
snapped
environment.
yourself out of it.
But
right?
it's the fact that I didn't want to leave the environment. It was something that was something that happened to me that I didn't think I needed, but I definitely needed it.
You're saying, because I'm unclear, so you're saying you need to leave that situation in order to get yourself where?
So I didn't know that at the time. When I was in that position mentally, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All right, so I'm going to tell them.
So unless you were forced out, you would have stayed.
You don't have to use specifics, you can just use your feelings.
Right, so it's not the fact that, like, okay, so I left that environment, and that changed my whole perspective on life and everything. I didn't want to leave that environment at the time because I was feeding and fueling
that environment,
the environment and the energy I was literally in the long run getting myself deeper into a like dark hole. So it's like, it's not even that I guess the main point of it is like, it's not what is best for someone in a certain mindset that's super negative. They may not be thinking about it, and like, I wasn't thinking about leaving that environment, but when it unfortunately happened, it changed my life, and I was not expecting it to. So it's like, when you're in those mindset, it kind of construes your thoughts and your thought processes in general to where you don't know what's best for you when you're in a dark state of mind, but you would like to think you do. So it was like more the subconscious or the outside factor of I left the environment and that changed everything. And I guess, does that make sense in a sense? Of like, I didn't want to leave the environment, but events happened where I had to, so I left. And then I was like, oh, wow.
I mean, that sense, I definitely get what you're saying. I guess I totally understand that there's plenty of times in an individual's life where you may be in a situation and you think you see a certain pathway that's going to lead you to where you want to go, but that might not always be the chosen path. That shouldn't be the exact correct path that you take.
That's a better way to put it.
So I think you put it fine. I'm saying, so from that perspective, I definitely get what you're saying.
You're not always thinking what's best for you when you're in a negative state of mind.
No, I agree with that. I feel like that's the case a lot of the time. A large majority of the time for myself is when I know that, because for me, I always will misplace things. I'm a huge misplacer. I forget because I have short-term memory loss. Thanks, genetics. So, so things like that are like cause anxiety for you, whether, your case, whatever the case is for you. Maybe someone's not a good test taker, this, that, the other thing, or whatever. When you're in a social situation, you go a little too hard. So I definitely understand the sense of you don't always see what's best for you, but I feel like at the same time, that's why we have to use tools that we have to enable ourselves to get into these situations where we can now promote our own self-benefit. So whether that is, getting yourself out of a situation. So I'm not saying that being in that social situation was good or bad for you, but, your own experience tells you that removing yourself from that situation, shoring up all the other aspects of, your own being is what was productive for you. But I feel like what Mari was trying to hit on is just more of in a general sense, the transition from college to the real world, quote unquote, is kind of complete bullshit. And so I think.
Brutal.
I mean, that's the transition from high school to college. High school
So I
does
was-
not really get you ready for
No,
college.
I said college.
But
to
I'm
real
saying,
life.
like, it's the
Oh,
big
okay,
transitions, whatever.
I see what
keep
you're
going.
saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
yeah.
Well,
But I don't know.
I think like thinking about the worst times of anxiety in high school and then the worst times of anxiety out of college, those were like two like heavy times, right? And the one thing that I could think of that like kind of got me through that was like nothing lasts forever,
Exactly.
because I'm such like a problem solve type of person, and it would
Mhm.
drive me nuts. Like, why can't I solve this issue of anxiety? Why can't I fix it?
So you're
Because I don't-
optimistic?
Yeah, I'm
Like glass half full
optimistic,
or half
but it
empty?
like drives me crazy. Like
You shouldn't.
like
You
if
shouldn't.
but
Because
if-
you're trying to find a solution.
I'm trying to find a solution, I think that that's what keeps the ball rolling, and that's a good thing. That's like a positive thing. But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, okay, when's the timeline? Like, I'm like, when are you gonna get this like done for me? Like, I'm kind of like business minded in that sense. But I'm like, all right, anxiety, when are you gonna like knock
When are you
it
gonna get the fuck out of my
off?
brain?
You're
Right, like
okay.
I'm kind of over it. So
Yeah.
like, let me know what you
I
want
thought
me
your
to
ass was
do,
leaving,
and I'll
but now
like
you're
give
in
it
a
to you,
different
and I'll be
fucking-
done.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I get exactly what you're saying.
But that's like kind of where you can start spiraling even more. And I've noticed that you kind of have to just be like, everything's temporary. So this sucks, but like, what's up? Like, you're not gonna live in my life forever.
Mhm.
That sucks. Like, have you ever? No, I don't want to say that on this podcast. Never mind.
Fucking say it. Just gotta
No, but
send it.
have you ever like just been like so high and you're just like, I hate this right now, and you feel like it's gonna be forever? Everybody's had that where they
Why
feel
would
like
you
it's
say
like-
that? We're on a podcast.
I
right
know,
now.
I know.
You
I
feel
know.
like it's just
But
like it's closing you in. It's like
right, and it's like I'm like this forever now. That's kind of like anxiety, right?
No, anxiety is, it's a crippling sensation. It
Of
ge- it
like,
ge-
this is my
genuinely
new
is.
normal, and I have to, but it's like it's not.
but
You're gonna get out of
it's
it.
the fact that, to tie in what I was saying earlier, a lot of people, I mean, if you're going through that position of you're like super depressed in whatever standpoint negatively that you could be in, it's the fact that you don't have that, like now we have this like thought process that like the light's at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly.
But we got
But-
through it, and that's when we knew it was going to happen.
Right.
You don't think that initially when you're in that
That's a
standpoint.
good point.
That's fair, but that's what I'm saying. If we are always constantly, even when we're not going through these times, like that's why I thought when you said that you journal, that was super commendable, because when you are in those times, if you set yourself up for success, if you're not doing these things and not keeping yourself ahead, like if you're not staying in tune with where you're at mentally, then when you hit those dark moments, it's just going to cripple you and you're not going to know how to attack it, and then you're just going to kind of be crawling through the tunnel. But if you have these tools in place, even if in your mind it's not helping at the time, it does help. If you have these things, like these tools that you're using, you're going to be able to utilize those, because practice makes perfect. It doesn't matter what it's about. Like I know as as someone that, I don't know, I feel like when I'm more mentally prepared for something, then when it hits, it's like the same way people were kind of like mourn people before they're gone. Like that same thing, like, and it sucks to say it's true, but if you prepare yourself for a difficult time, when a difficult time happens, even if it's just as hard as you ever imagined or even worse, make no mistake about it, you're more enabled, like you're more ready for that
You're
moment.
more susceptible to like take the hit.
Yeah, you're more
You know what I
ready
mean?
for that moment, and it sucks to say, but if you make yourself more ready for a moment, because like the thing is, ups and downs happen, highs and lows happen, but if you can make sure that you never, like your values and your peaks aren't too high, then you can keep yourself somewhere, because you're gonna still, because even if you have a valley and a peak, when you hit that valley, which is gonna happen, if you know, or at least have some tools that help you push through up that hill, then you're going to be more productive, rather than being like, okay, well, I didn't know this was coming, and now it's here, and now it's crippling. It's still going to be difficult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I definitely
I know
do.
I'm rambling,
No,
but
I definitely feel like
put yourself in a good
once you
position.
start going through like the hard stuff in life, the first couple times you go through it, it's like whoa, and it really hits differently, and then you start to learn some things like this was hard, and then it gets better.
right.
Oh,
You learn more about
and
yourself
then
in the hard
this is hard,
situations.
and then it gets better again. And it's like once you hit that bottom, and you kind of look around like within yourself, and you're like, oh, it's so horrible down here, but then it gets better. And so like as I don't know if you feel this way, but like as I get older, and we're not even that old like at this point, but it just feels like anything that happens that's bad, it's like all right, it's gonna get better now.
But did you have this
Right?
mindset? Like, I feel like we've all had a huge negative aspect or a certain time in life that was super negative, whether it's depressed, anxiety, whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've all.
The mindset that you the mindset that you gain coming out of that hard time. Okay, now from the outside looking in, you think there's always light at the end of the tunnel. You'll get there. Don't feed the bad negative energy and fuel, but it's because we went through it. Now think about before you went through that time and you were going through this negative point in your life. That's not, you were hoping it. You're like, I always hear this shit where it's like there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but like when you try to portray what you have gone through, if you came through a dark time, onto someone else, they're not going to take it, in my opinion, the same way as you want them to, because they haven't hit that very negative transitional point in their lives in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So it's, I don't know. It's,
And that kind of ties into what you said, though. I'm not trying to call you out, but I'm gonna do a quick call out.
do it. I love it.
You said like I know that you're a proponent of don't judge people of the chapters of their life that they're in.
But I judge people all the time.
What I'm saying, but that's kind of an example of it.
I know.
Right?
Know. I work on it. I
So
try to.
at the same time, like I get what your sentiment is. Like you're saying, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I do.
didn't really even say a point, but I know you understand what I'm saying.
I guess I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to show the audience who's listening to this too that like I'm real. I definitely judge. Like I don't want to tell people I want to judge, but I want to talk about the things that like
Then say that.
not a lot of people don't really talk about. But like I want you to know, like I try to just. I mean, I'm bad at a lot of things. I'm not gonna just cold turkey stop them. Like I would love to, but it's as a human nature, it's hard to just do that in 30 different categories of like the negative things that I do, whatever it may be. So like I want the audience to hear this and be like, oh, he's a human too. Like he's trying to fix himself, but he does judge people, but he's trying to get better at it. So it's more so in the mindset of just we all have vices. We all have like negative things that we do, and it's. Are you going to feel them or are you going to fix them? Not going to fix them right away. That may be impossible if you fix them right away, but it's the fact that you're just trying. Like we talked about this earlier today. Effort and trying is huge, and it seems very difficult to find that within a certain individual nowadays. In the sense of maybe it's not difficult, but more I guess more so that aligns with your values as well. So like then that's obviously more of a picky process, but I don't know.
Fair.
I think for like the people who, so have you ever like noticed like somebody's going through something and you're like, that's not even that bad, and you compare
100%.
it?
Yes.
I like definitely went through that in high school. Like I was going through my own shit with like my family and my mom being so sick all the time, and my friends would like freak out over like, oh, I got an F on this test, and I was just angry, and it just came back to this emotion of like anger. And so I was talking to actually my aunt, like was a super positive person in my life during this time, and she was like, you cannot compare problems, like no,
Yeah,
like
that's-
stop doing
But
that.
naturally it happens.
She was
You know
like,
what I mean?
naturally it happens, but like that F on that test may be the hardest thing that they've ever gone through. And she's like, you realize like your situation too? That's nothing compared to someone in this other country who's literally trying to just get water and food for the day. So you want to compare issues, Mari? And it was like,
Someone
it was
always
the
has it worse
best,
than you
like,
do.
yeah, someone always has it worse, or someone always has it better, but they're still complaining and you're angry at them, but then you're like sad for this person. It's like, stop comparing, you're just wasting your time. And I think that mentally was like one of the most freeing things for me to be like, do not compare problems.
It's like a sign of like maturity. Not saying you weren't mature before that, but like it's like we always remember like the huge moments that are like a huge transitional point in our lives, whether it's the mindset that we have on a certain subject or like what we decide to do on a day-to-day basis, whatever it may be. But you know how like you always remember, like we all do shit every day. We don't remember it. It's the things that are so meaningful that like, oh, this is sticking out in my brain for a reason. So that was obviously an important topic of discussion, event in my life where I hung out and I got on my comfort zone, whatever it may be. It's like you always remember the important things. And I definitely have short-term memory loss, just like you do. But you always remember the most important things that happen. So it's like, that's a good thing to like have a grandma say to you, but it all comes in
My
different
aunt.
forms. Aunt, sorry. It all comes in different forms. So like, your aunt could tell you, we could not have a close relationship with our aunts. but we got it from like our dad or something. You know what I mean? So it's like interesting, and that's where perspective is key. It just all ties into the same thing. Just cool to see people's perspectives on it.
Is there anything besides that? Like, to me, that was very much like what you said. It's like that stuck out in my mind so much, and that was something I kept getting caught up on and kept getting like angry about, was comparing issues. And then when she said that, I was like, done. Like, now my thought process has transitioned. Is there anything in your guys' life where you're like, someone said this and then it like changed me, or like it like really helped me get past this barrier?
I mean, in the sense of a direct relation to what you said about how you can't judge people with other problems, like, because your perspective is your own. My grandpa said something to me, it was probably like 5 years ago before he passed, and he said, you know, billionaires have fucking problems too. Because he was making me like build a fence for him, and I was like, okay, this is some bullshit. I don't want to build your fence, old man. And then I don't know how I got on that topic, but it was just like, I was like, damn, billionaires do have problems. And I was like, okay, well, this happens. And this was like right when Aaron Hernandez like murdered someone, Tiger Woods was cheating on his wife. And it's also like kind of your coming of age. And then also growing up in an area where there's a lot of different diverse experiences, because you have an inner city right next to a suburb, right next to a rural area. So you have all these different experiences. You're going to know someone in all three like levels of that life.
Right.
Which I feel like is the case for most people, but I feel like it's like pretty split evenly between those categories. And so I feel like when you can kind of recognize that everyone's problems are super variant from your own, then you definitely learn to not like label people's problems, like whether that's, you know, their anxieties or what they're going through financially, or like personal hardships with like health or anything like that. So I don't know.
Who's getting a call?
We'll decline that. Okay, so real quick before we wrap this little sucker up, Marielle,
hey,
what's your Halloween costume?
I'm Axel from Guns N' Roses.
Do you have it right now? Can we see it?
No, I don't have. Do
you have a guitar?
So you're gonna have a guitar?
Are you gonna wear a guitar for Saturday? Yes, you are.
My outfit right now, but
Kyler, what about you?
Slash.
I'm gonna go with Slash. I mean, if you really want the whole digest of it all, she's going to Slash. I'm going as Axel, but that's irrelevant.
Really?
Yeah.
See, he suckered me into this, and I don't even know who I'm being.
That's what I do. I just trap people. I'm like, hey, we're doing this, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, and then all of a sudden they do it, and they're like, oh God, who is this guy?
That's perfect.
That's all right though. What are you being for Halloween?
So first of all, so when I kind of try to come up with a costume for Halloween, I think light skins. I'm like, who are some famous light skins? So I got Malcolm X. MLK he was black, but he was a light skin. He wasn't that dark. But also, you know, black and white's kind of deceptive. Anyway, so I decided on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith style.
You got like a jersey, a jacket. What are you rocking?
Wait. So I got a little Fresh Prince Bel-Air Academy where he went to school. Will Smith jersey. I got some
I could
retro
see you more
colors.
as like Steve Urkel.
Okay, that's fucked up, huh? Mari's like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to gas this man.
Gaslight.
No, but so, you know, I'm gonna.
Hey, yeah, you guys should comment what you guys are trying to be for Halloween. Let us know and give us some like future ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Well,
hey, we appreciate you being on. Thanks for being part of the show. I think it ended up being very smoothly. Yeah, hell yeah. We gotta dap it up. Hell yeah, I like it. But yeah, man. Hey, make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
That's about it.
Ask questions.
Yeah,
like,
ask
we
questions.
We want to do like a late night, like we answer your questions type of deal.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or literally anything you want us to even like talk about in general, just comment about it.
We're gonna have our Halloween costumes on.
Yeah,
on
after
the,
dark.
On the late night.
Ooh, tomorrow?
Yeah.
We should do one tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Because
Halloween Eve is tonight, so
that's
tomorrow.
TBD.
We have to post this today.
That's TBD, but stay tuned, guys.
Halloween Eve is tonight, not right now, but tonight.
All right, appreciate you guys.
All right, hey, peace and love. Thanks for listening, baby.
Have a head start.